says ambulance trial, minorities threatening boycott of Parliament. Now, the story here says the minority in Parliament has given indication that it will not avail itself for parliamentary business on days scheduled for the hearing of the ongoing ambulance trial. Now, the caucus says its decision comes on the back of the refusal of the presiding judge to grant the minority leader, Dr. Kesel Atuforsen, leave of the court to attend business of the House today. Now, the minority chief whip, Governor Abuja, in a statement said the NDC minority caucus has taken notice of this worrying trend that shows an attempt by the trial judge, Justice Efia Asari-Botwe, to prevent the minority leader from performing his constitutional duties as an elected member of Parliament and the leader of the minority caucus. Now, in light of the above, the continuous persecution of the minority leader, the NDC minority will continue to solidarize and stand by its leader anytime he's due to appear in court, he stated. The NDC, the minority caucus, further reserves the right to apply all other tools available to us in our approach to business on the floor. Let me come to you, Alex. Your comment on this situation. I would assume, or maybe I should say presume, that parliamentary business, being as critical as it is, shouldn't be forestalled, or maybe in a certain sense, maybe it's too strong a word, but hijacked in this manner. Why does the NDC Minority Caucus feel so strongly about doing this?
Well, I think that one has to look at the history pertaining to this whole situation. You remember at a certain point, the minority actually went through a boycott procedure, not just on Kesel Atuforsen, but on Collins Dauda, etc.
Yeah.
People spoke and said this is not the way forward, for the simple reason that the courts have their method and it shouldn't be impinged upon through the legislature. And I believe that what happened was the case proceeded and we went back into the chamber. Not that we actually left, but we continued to do our business as required.
Okay.
So it's not the first time. Neither has it been the first time of people walking out for one reason or the other.
Okay.
So if you talk about walkouts, every walkout disturbs the business of Parliament, and does not necessarily have to be based on a third-party interest or not. On this occasion, it's based on a third-party interest of Kesel Atuforsen. And when you look at the history of cases which have a political flavor, a lot of things are happening which are of concern. You remember even in the Chachikwisin case, at a certain point, it was decided that they should sit daily, every day.
I remember that.
He was also an MP. And when you take that into account, it's not the only criminal trial in town. There are criminal trials going on everywhere. No criminal trial is being treated the way trials against MPs who are NDC members happening, in terms of the timing, the rate at which it is going, etc.
Okay.
We've had a conviction of an NDC lady in absentia. And it can be done, it's been done. I hear they are lodging an appeal, or they have lodged an appeal. And these are all novel happenings in the political space. So when you have a witness who has finished giving his evidence, is being represented by a lawyer in court, and he is not going to abscond, there's no fear that he'll fail to appear. He's given a cogent reason that, look, on this day, I would really like to be given the opportunity not to be in court because I have urgent business. And he's not just any MP. Let's be clear. This is the minority leader in Parliament. Therefore, when you put it in that context, you can see that the request is legitimate. What the judge perhaps could or not, is to inquire what is so important about today that may not come back tomorrow and the day after. Why do you? He could say, well, there's a voting matter. There's a matter in which I have to make an appearance. My committee, which I chair, is sitting, and therefore, he's not asking for this when he's giving evidence or is required to give evidence. He's not. So long as the court is satisfied that he's being represented by his lawyers, I see no issue. And I'm not the judge, so I stand to be corrected. But on the face of it, I see no issue why, if cogent reasons were given or are given, he cannot be excused from being in court on that day. And it doesn't affect the trial. The trial still goes on. It's about delay. That is what the whole issue is. You don't want the case to drag on and on. So what is lost if Keselatu Forsen is not there? When he has given his evidence, he has finished his case. The prosecution has finished his case. And you're cross-examining another defendant, or is being cross, and your lawyers are present to do so. You then throw into that mix the issue of this particular case and the tape that has created all kinds of issues and the way it's being looked at. And the almost personal position of the Attorney General with regard to Keselatu Forsen, advice given by a judge, quietly just step back from this case, let the perception of fairness be created. And the view is, oh no, if I do that, I'm actually releasing my... Why? He doesn't prosecute in every court. All courts cases that are going on are in his name. So why is it that he has to be there? So when you put that in context, what you have coming across from all the things I have said is a political trial. That is the perception out there. And when you have a political trial, it creates, or when people perceive it, you then get this toing and froing. So yes, the people will have a view that, look, there's a difference. This is one case that is totally different from all the other cases. And as I said, historically, there was a view taken by the minority at a certain point. They reneged on it and they all went back and continued their business. But why on this occasion is because of the history of this case and the peculiar circumstances of this case. He's given evidence. His lawyers are in court. Why can't he be reclused a day, a couple of days here and there, so that the business of the country can be properly adhered to? You know, we have a hung parliament. Is this a ploy to ensure that our numbers are reduced, or what? He's not required.
Okay. Well, Mr. Daddy, what do you make of what is happening, and why can't the case, as Alex has eloquently put it, proceed? Because we know it can actually proceed. Your lawyers are in court, the case can continue. I mean, he doesn't need to be in court himself, especially because he's not being cross-examined.
Thank you very much, and once again, special greetings to all our viewers around the world. I have always argued this way. I personally wouldn't think it would be right, it would be fair, it would be justifiable for anybody to be incarcerated, prosecuted in any form or way that will necessarily not meet the expectation of our legal jurisprudence in this country. I don't believe in what the word they used. Immediately you read, I wrote this word, persecution. I don't believe anybody whatsoever, whether a political opponent or whatever, should be persecuted in any way. If the fellow has committed a crime, you take him through the processes. If he hasn't committed a crime, the fact that he's your political opponent today and he's in opposition now does not mean he will remain in opposition forever. There will be a day that he will also be in power. So the word persecution sometimes, in my opinion, I don't know what's happening, but I doubt if that is what
What is happening?
The case is.
Okay.
Secondly, what I want to suggest is the parliamentarians have a right. In fact, there was a time recently they wanted to walk out of the SONA. They walked out during Jachikwesin's case where that Honorable had referenced, and so many walkouts. It's not been only the MPP or the NDC. Both parties have used that tool to fight their case or to argue their cases whenever it becomes necessary. So it's not a new thing, right? This is not the first time we are hearing that parliamentarians are going to adjudicate, they are going to vacate their seats in a day or two or a number of times just to go and do something that they think is the right thing to do. I think it is within their rights. They are not breaking any law, right? But also one will say, shouldn't we just learn from other jurisdictions where if really I am wrong, we should use the course of the law to find out? This is a question I have been asking since this case broke up. Is it really true that somebody did something wrong? If somebody did something wrong, the best place to go would have been the courts, right? Ghana has had a situation where none of us would want repeated, where people we thought were wrong or have done some form of wrong or would have done something in this country were lined up and shot, or some things done, extrajudicial killings or whatever. Now we have all decided to let the tenets of the rule of law prevail, right? So if I do something, even if you catch somebody live stealing, the law does not allow you to take those steps into your own hands and then give your own form of justice. So the moment a case is in court, it gives me, somebody like me, some level of peace that we have a case that is being pursued in the court. As to whether somebody is being tried wrongly or not. I was just reading as we were entering the studio. I was reading on this American Biden's son's situation.
Hunter.
Yes, Hunter Biden's situation. They said he's been convicted. The legal system is saying he can see 25 years in jail and all that. But his father said, I'm not interfering. That's what the father said. I was just listening to the video before we entered. And if we want to grow our democracy to a certain level, it shouldn't be somebody like me who might not be that strong, or somebody who doesn't have the political backing that goes to court and gets convicted. It could be the president's son or the president himself, if the law allows, that he will go to court, and if he loses, Donald Trump, a former president, had lost his case, right? Yeah. There was a time we were talking about this thing where I said I was in London in 2007 when Tony Blair's secretary was arrested in the office. And recently we were talking about it. I was asking this question: can you imagine Nana Santi-Bedier and some 2 sergeants who appear at the Flagstaff House saying he's going to arrest him? Do you think anybody could even imagine that in our kind of environment? Yes, or the IGP himself even thinking that he wants to invite the president for questioning. I don't know whether our constitution allows that, or go to the president's office or the chief of staff's office and say, I'm coming to question, or I'm invited.
It happened. Not invited, but remember on the Anas Arimiao tape about, I think, is it number 12?
Yes, number 12 case.
They spoke to both the president and this thing before they actually came out to the expose.
They gave him copies of the tape.
Yes,
they engaged. That one could be you are trying to engage the people, the stakeholders.
No, but I think what NS is trying to say is that appearance of the authority of the police, that says that nobody's above the law. So if we have to investigate, even the president can be investigated in the sense, that appearance.
So that the tenets of the rule of law will apply to all. That's what I'm trying to argue now. That for us to be able to do that, then it means we are getting somewhere. But now, because I have political backing and I have political friends, if I get a case in court, my whole party will march to the court tomorrow morning. If my case is in court and all that. It's happened. I think, was it Nana Kunedu or somebody? And everybody is there. If an NDC guru is to appear in court today, the same thing will happen. If an MPP guru is in court today. And it, in my opinion, seeks to undermine our decision to let democracy rule and the rule of law persist within our space. As for me, this is the angle I am looking at it from.
Okay.
If they have the feeling that the minority leader, is being treated unfairly or the laws are being applied wrongly, they have every right to go to the court or to make a presentation on his behalf. I believe as a colleague, even if, let's say, ChannelOne staff, any staff here has a problem, he expects his management and other people to at least try to get interested and see what they can do. But my point is, if the fellow is wrong, which I always say is what happens in Ghana. For example, if I move out of this studio and I jump a red light and the police stops me, the first thing I will be looking for is a senior policeman whose number I have or I know to call him to intervene. And it's what we have become used to. It's what we've become used to. And for me, it may not help the rule of law as we wish, because the powerful and influential goes scot-free. And recently there was this lady I knew, and I was asking she used to come around to come and work and do those things. And when I asked, they said the lady had gone to borrow 3,000 from somebody and couldn't pay. And I hear she's been incarcerated. She was taken to court and jailed for 2 years for borrowing 3,000 and couldn't pay. Somebody is owing billions, and somebody might have even taken some good government government money, and he's working scot-free. And so it looks like if you are at the bottom there, then you are less a Ghanaian than if you are up there. So as for me, my appeal to the parliamentarians, solidarity, yes. If they feel his right is being trampled upon and they want to get involved, yes, I will expect the same thing from friends and family and people who, when they hear that somebody is trampling on my right, to come to my aid. But let's be careful the way we are approaching it, because now we all know that Honorable just alluded to the fact that we have a hanged parliament. So many things will not go on if we apply some of the tools that are available to us in a way. All said and done, I believe that they have the right to say they are going to solidarize with their colleague. He's a colleague, and therefore they can go. But I want to appeal that if we are doing it, let's do it right. It is my expectation that we will not just use the tool because he's our majority leader. Even if he's wrong, he must go scot-free. I'm not saying he's wrong. Please, let's be mindful. I want to issue this disclaimer. I'm not saying he's wrong. I don't have the power to say he's wrong. But I am one person who believes that we must let the rule of law prevail if that is what we want to prevail.
Just a quick bite on something, a question that I have related to this and the conversation we've been having before we take a break. How do we fix our system and make it such that the law can bite everyone and not just those we don't like? Do you understand my question?
You see, he makes a very cogent point about, for me, it's about a lot has to do with the perception. Look, moving away from the typical MPP, NDC politics, President Mills was called father for all.
Yeah.
If it has a semblance of politics involved, he doesn't take, he took the view that he must, you don't take a prima facie case because he must be sure you have evidence beyond a reasonable doubt to go and charge somebody and take him on.
Okay.
And he looked at things in his regime, as well as Mahama, where, for example, Sipai Ampe had to step aside. He was investigated at Chirac, cleared. Kufuor did same with Anani.
Yes.
Step aside.
Yes.
The lady who thought about 1 million,
Victoria.
she had to step up. She was actually had to resign. The zeal with which, or the effort to get people in this current dispensation to move towards that type of thought process seem to have been lost. Yes, in the Cecilia Dapa case, she stepped aside or she resigned. But the comments by the president on her resignation have tainted anything that has happened thereafter. In fact, we seem to have a polarized investigative situation in her case. The CID can't move, Yoko can't move, special prosecutor can't move. And yet everybody knows that something cannot be right when a government official has that type of money. And you hear comments like, well, if people have money in their house, it doesn't mean anything. Hello? So the perception that there's one rule for one and another is heightened. And I don't say that the NDC in its time, there are no examples of issues, but there are also clear examples of taking our own on regardless. So Abu Gapele is a classic. The question I ask of the MPPs, you have been in power for 7.5 years. Who has been charged, who has a political color, and been brought before the courts in a way, a manner that would give some solace, even in the most blatant of cases? And even those that have, or the one that I know perhaps, and I don't know how far that has gone, and that's the gentleman who was, I think, at procurement.
Yeah, the PPA case.
Yeah, PPA case. Yeah. And it seems to have died. We don't hear anything about it. It's not in the papers. This is a huge amount of money. So I just think that we are not saying that the NDC are angels, but from where Mills Mahama took it, we seem to have gone backward in terms of checking our own. And somebody will say, as I heard the president say, rule of law, if I don't have it, but it cannot be viable. So for example, what is the explanation for the health minister staying in post after the debacle of the COVID vaccines he went to procure from Russia? Till date, I don't understand it. Because there was no parliamentary approval. There was no cabinet approval.
Yeah.
There was no attorney general's advice. And he admitted in parliament that he had wronged. The very least is that he should have been made to resign. But he should have actually been prosecuted. Nothing happens. So when you have these type of examples, your question as to what do we do? One, we have to have a system where it doesn't seem like they are one rule for one and the other. And you have to have a sanction regime. People who do wrong should be sanctioned.
Yeah.
It's almost as if, depending on who you know in Ghana, and this is not political now, whom you know, you can get off. If you don't know enough people, you are in. So the sanction regime must kick in, and kick in hard. Then we'll begin to get somewhere.
It is. You know, at the risk of sounding brutal or harsh or whatever. I've seen cases where, for example, policemen are clearly breaking the law in traffic. But because they are police, it's like they are the law.
When you say they are breaking the law, what do you mean?
Okay, so for example, it is said that we know that there are some places there are no U-turns allowed, right? You see a police vehicle doing a U-turn. There's no emergency. There's no, what do you call it?
Sirens.
The sirens. There's nothing. He's just doing it because he's the policeman. Will you stop him? You can't stop him. You can't say anything about it. And by the time it happens, it already happened. You can't even video it to say that you are recording it. But the CCTV cameras are all there, and they know that what's going on.
You know, when I had to ask that question, I don't want you to implicate me.
No, no, it's something I actually witnessed this week. I've seen it about 2 or 3 times.
When he asked the question, when I say a policeman is breaking the law, it means something else to me.
Ah, okay.
Okay. You know, I can't say it. Everybody listening, watching this show knows what I mean. But like you said it right. Sometimes it's very difficult for the ordinary person to challenge them, even though sometimes we do it. I mean, I have done it before. There was this police vehicle moving in the middle, and I was telling the gentleman, please, where you are, if there is an emergency, fine, because we all know that these are security services, and they could be anything. They could be going on an operation, they could have had a whatever the situation is that they will go. Like you said, they should do it right and within the law. If he's having a U-turn where it's no U-turn, for me the assumption would have been that he had an emergency call, he's within the emergency services, and for that matter, he has to do what it takes to either save lives and protect property. So for those ones, it doesn't worry me. The other one I was thinking about is what worries me, because sometimes he has stopped you. He knows really well that what he's asking you for does not make sense. But for one reason or the other, you either obey before complain, or you will be delayed for an hour.
I know.
It happened to me at Tesano police station here. In fact,
really?
It happened to me. I was then, I just came out of school, young man, always carrying my backpack behind my back and walking around with a brown envelope in my armpit. And just on top of this overhead, the Apenkwa one. I was standing at the trotro waiting for my own trotro to go to my small corner, when a fight ensued between a tow truck and a gentleman standing there. They were coming to tow his vehicle. So I was standing right there. I was waiting for trotro. And then all of a sudden, the tow truck pulls in and they wanted to tow the vehicle. I was the only person who was a witness. So there was this young policeman coming with his name there, Jose. XOR. I'm mentioning it because of what it took. So I quickly ran to the policeman and said, I was standing right here. I saw everything. The gentleman just pulled in. He hadn't gotten down. But the guy is saying the car is parked and there was nobody inside. But I am a witness, so please intervene. This policeman, I was trying to call to let the fight. They were fighting for the fight to stop. Just asked him, hey, and you are recording me. What? Why are you talking to me? So I said, oh, my brother, me, I was just saying that. More sincerely, I was recording the fight with my mobile phone. This guy said he had arrested me. Oh, I am telling you, it took 2 very sensible senior police officers at Tesano police station. The guy brought me at gunpoint as if I was a criminal from the overhead here to Tesano police station. I went there, and you know the unfortunate thing. There were other policemen sitting down. He said, you are playing with this guy. He will kill you before you know. Young man. So fortunately for me, there was a lady there. And my phone, when we started talking, I was recording before he came. When we started talking, even though I had stopped, I wasn't pointing the thing at anybody. Apparently, the thing was still recording. So all the conversation we were having were recorded, even though the phone was pointing somewhere else. So the lady called me and said, young man, but you don't look like somebody who will make trouble. I said, I didn't make any trouble. I was just calling him to help the guy they were trying to bully. But my phone, I recorded, he said I was recording him. This is my phone. So the lady took my phone, looked at it, said, everything we were saying, when I was saying, oh, please, sir, the gentleman hasn't done anything, so please, sir, help him. When I was saying, please, sir, all was recording. So the lady said, no. Then he pointed at their boss. You go to the back, and their boss is in the room. I should go to the man. Because the way the boys, they had put me at the counter back.
Oh, hey.
Oh yes. Me, I'm talking about me. Wow. Not somebody's story, my story. Crazy. So when I went there and told the man, in fact, to be sincere with you, I started crying. Then the man said no. Then I said they have seized my phone. The man went and brought my phone. He opened it. All I was saying, he said I had recorded him. So this is a policeman who saw a young man who, in fact, I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And I wasn't recording him. The guy had lied that I was recording. He took the policeman. There was one senior policeman. Later, I came to find out that it was Kofi Boachi or something who was in the office there. So sincerely, after they listened to the thing, they made them, and as I was going, I was hearing the fire behind me. They managed, this is a policeman who is supposed to have saved the situation, who was called on to save the situation. And that's, so when you mentioned the police guy, that's when my mind experience. I have a very bad experience, and that they took some good men to save me. Yeah. But as Honorable was speaking, we all have different styles of leadership, in my opinion. And I have always said that if somebody did wrong, punish him. If His Excellency the President, Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo, had said that, he will not punish without evidence. I think he wouldn't be the first person who had made this statement. There are people who allegations have been made against, like the excavator thing, not Ekowisi, the other one.
Charles Bishop.
They had to resign and all that. I think when number 12 happened, he referenced it. Kwesinya Ntechi, the president himself, reported to the police that action should be taken and all that. So there were instances where action was taken. You see, if we look at the Cecilia Dapa thing, we are all advocating for the rule of law to prevail. So I think the OSP took the matter up. He went as far as the FBI. He took steps. If after their investigations, and they didn't come back to tell us that I have investigated, I have found out the source of this money is fraudulent or whatever, whichever laws she had broken, we take her on them. It's always very difficult to say somebody should be punished, especially for people like me, who is always saying that let the law work. Let the law work. The law must work. Okay. It must apply to us. So if they couldn't find any specific thing against her, it would be difficult for me to call for example, you mentioned Abuga Pele. There was a commission or a committee of inquiry. They had brought out a report, and based on the report, His Excellency the President John Dramani Mahama then said they should be prosecuted. And these cases always happen. So the appeal is that I am a strong advocate for the law to work. And therefore, if we have something against you, yes, I'll go and answer your questions. If we have nothing against you, it shouldn't be because you are a political actor. You should come and pay for things that you know. But to end on this, as for me, you want to move to the next topic. That's why we need to
take a break. So you just.
All right, I'm just concluding on this. I believe I listened to Sammy Jamfi once on one station where he said every lawyer has his own strategy. If I took a cue from that, and everybody in court, the NDC may have a strategy as to how to deal with this matter. And therefore, they have all the cards that they are trying to play. They are allowed to play their cards as long as, for me, the case is in court. We shouldn't bring it from court into the court of public opinion, where we are expecting trotro mate and ordinary me, who may not know anything about the law, to now take the case and be arguing about it. That's my only worry.